I'm also, in order to discuss the budget presentation today, I'm also joined by Dr. Soumya Kanti Ghosh, Chief Economic Advisor of the SBI and also a member of the 16th Finance Commission. Mr. Ghosh, thank you so much for joining us here on NDTV. Your initial assessment of the budget presented by the Finance Minister today.
Yeah, I think, thank you for having me on the show. I think it's a good budget. It's a budget actually which ensures stability and continuity in the tax proposals. There has been some tweaks in the budget, but the good thing is that the numbers which are put out in the budget, as like in the previous years, they are conservative. And my sense is that at the end of the year, you will see that the deficit numbers and the borrowing numbers which have been put out will be much better than this, given the existing tax buoyancy. So basically the budget again, it has been a case for the last couple of years. The budget actually over delivers and under promises. And I think this is a continuity from the last 2 years when the deficit was pegged at higher level and we reached a lower target. So from that point of view, it is good for the markets, it is good for stability and good for continuity.
Mr. Ghosh, how does this budget fare when it comes to assessing on the basis of ease of doing business? Is there enough measure which has been proposed by the Finance Minister to enhance ease of doing business?
I think on the first case, if you ask me about the ease of doing business, I think the government has reduced the taxes on foreign companies from 40 to 35%. So that's a positive step. The second thing which it has done is that it is actually this time announced several schemes which basically talks about this employability. As you know that the government is going to incentivize the people who are going to enter the workforce. So that is also another thing in terms of the employability. And if you ask me about the ease of doing business, I think it has actually identified critical sectors which are employment generators. For example, in MSME sectors, there are several initiatives. The credit guarantee scheme is coming, which will literally benefit a lot of SME players. The agricultural sector, the land records are going to be digitized. And if this is an indication, I think over a point of time, given the fact that a lot of records are digitized, it will also help the farmers to hypothecate their land and get higher loan. And also, I think in some of the other sectors like taxation, like the skilling, the government has intended abolishing the angel tax. So that is also another way of looking into the ease of doing business. So I think there are several micro initiatives in the budget which tries to ease of doing business, but I want to emphasize that this is a continuity and you could actually see more changes coming in the February budget because the Finance Minister today said that she wants to simplify the IT tax, and my hunch is that over a point of time, the changes which we have seen in the capital gains and other things will mean that we are actually moving to a new tax regime.
Okay. Mr. Ghosh, quickly, because you mentioned it, that, this internship program which has been suggested by the government, there are a lot of questions being raised about it. Politics apart, do you think it's workable? And does it really truly answer, is that a fitting answer to the jobs challenge that we are facing?
See, I think if you ask me very honestly, I think in Indian labor market, if you look into the record of the last 50 years, every time if you look into the data, 50% or more of the Indian labor market is actually self-employed. So basically the criticism which often comes in the last couple of years that the self-employment has gone up is actually not correct, because always it's a matter of fact that 50% of more India's employees are self-employed. Having said that, the idea about the schemes is that trying to ensure that the labor force is actually getting formalized. And from that point of view, we will also find another mention in the budget where the budget has clearly said that the data on the eShram portal, whereby all the unorganized laborers have actually registered, that will be integrated with the other portals. So this means that the government is working on two steps. First, formalizing the Indian labor force, because the informal labor component in the Indian market varies from 40 to 45% through several estimates. So that is the first aim of the government, to reduce the informality. And the second thing is that the existing informality also, the government was actually trying to address their issues by trying to see how it can extend social security benefits to them. So my sense is that it's a working process. You may not see immediate results, but over a point of time, I think this could actually address some of the structural issues of the labor market.
Right. Mr. Ghosh, my final question to you. there was a lot of anticipation that there would be something, some announcements made to boost the demand in rural economy. Was that a miss in this budget, according to you?
I don't think it's a miss. I think the government has clearly said that it wants to work on digitizing the land records, and it will actually help the 6 crore farmers. My sense is that in the February budget, we could actually see some definitive moves in that direction in terms of easing of the agricultural credit by using the land records. So I think, and the next budget I think is only a couple of months away in February. So a lot of things which has been said in this budget or not repeated in the budget, I think this is going to happen in the February budget when it will be presented.
Right. My final question, and we have very less time, but your thoughts on whether you see the old tax regime being phased out in the next budget?
Yes, I think the old tax regime has outlived its continuity, but I would like to add one point over here. I think in any country, the personal income tax would ideally convert to the corporate income taxes, or it could be lower than that. So my sense is that given the fact that corporate income tax is currently at 25%, over a point of time, if the old tax regime is continued, I think the new tax regime, the income taxes could ideally convert to the corporate taxes, and that could actually give a huge boost to the consumption, which you always talk about in the context of India, where 60% of the GDP data is actually accounted by consumption. So I think that is one wish which as every taxpayer dreams of, but my sense is that ideally they should converge towards each other over a longer period of time.
All right, Mr. Soumya Kanti Ghosh there. Thank you so much for joining us on the show with your analysis of the budget presented earlier today.